Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well on April 26, 2025, and the days are just flying by. It's overcast here in rural Kentucky, and the chickens, I just gave them their snacky. I actually do need to record a video later because Grub Terra sent me another bunch of little wormies to do a video for them in exchange for the free product. So the weather hasn't been so nice here. I wanted to do it on a sunny day, so I'm going to have to wait a little while longer. But I'm going to read another section of the book. I'm going to show you here. The Criminal Fraternity, Servants of the Lie. Oh, wow! My phone is glitching. They can't take the truth. Oh, my goodness. Look at that. By Saul Esprit, Servants of the Truth, Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness gracious. Look, do you see what's going on with my phone suddenly? Oh my goodness. And this is our topic of interest today. Attorneys, prostitutes in three-piece suits. Well, that caught their attention, huh? Oh my goodness. And this little original painting is by Linda Russell. Linda's Art Angels, and it's entitled Mother, I Am With You. August 16, 2024. So thank you everybody for sending me links to articles and stuff. Some of the things that you send me I can't even discuss on the channel, sort of like this one here. But if you want to look it up, I mean, it's really interesting. Okay, this is dated January 10, 2022. So this is university research. Oregon State University news report, January 10, 2022. So it's a couple of years old, but you know, it's worth looking at if you're interested. Let me see what else we've got that was sent to me. This really, and I might read from this in the future, but let me show you the document I received. It's a PDF. And of course, now I'm on page 17, and for some reason it's not going up for me to show you what it looks like. Oh, here it is. And this is 486 pages. So, I mean, just so you know, I'm not going to read the whole thing. But I'll show you what it looks like in case you want to look it up. 2016. This work is protected under United States law, which allows for use of copyrighted materials as part of scholarly research performed in the public interest. The use of copyrighted materials herein constitutes fair use. These are all the thank yous. This book is dedicated to the memory of my father. At a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. These are the contents, a table of contents. So you see what's going on here. So anybody that would like a copy of this, you can email me for a copy, or you might be able to locate it online. It's PDF by Kirby, Kirby. Okay, so let's see what else is next. And I think that's it for now on news. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to read Attorneys, prostitutes in three-piece suits. Woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for ye lad men with burdens grievous to be borne, and ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. Woe unto you, for ye build the sculptures of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. Woe unto you, lawyers! For ye have taken away the key of knowledge, yea, entered not into yourselves, and them that were entering in, ye hindered. Luke 11:46, 47, 52. Among the key members of the criminal fraternity. And just, by the way, I read up to page 61 of this book. I'm on page 123. I just kind of skipped forward a bunch of things that they were talking about. The dollar, the U.S. currency, and all that stuff. It's a little too complicated. I like to get to the juicy stuff, like the prostitutes in three-piece suits. So this is page 123 of the Criminal Fraternity. I've got parts 1, 2, 3, and 4 already on my channel. Among the key members of the Criminal Fraternity, attorneys are a study in contrast. Well educated, but only in their limited sphere of expertise. Intelligent, but only in a warped and malicious sense of the word. Hypocritically cunning, crafty, compromise the truth for their own personal gain and safety. They participate in a fraudulent commercial enterprise which offers a futile hope of fulfilling their dream of attaining justice among unjust human beings. They're incorrigible, lifelong servants of the lie. They fail to realize that the problem with mankind rests in the heart of men, not in the belief of any human system of government, which is the most wicked, corrupt, and ungodly of all human institutions. Brainwashed by law school indoctrination, they reverence man's unrighteous laws more than God's perfect law. In obedience to their surrogate lord and master, Lucifer, they practice a form of quote-unquote government worship, where the hallowed courtrooms are their temple and their loyalty is to their quote-unquote the system. Often they pass on their perverse traits to succeeding familial generations, which become like-minded wards of the state, similar to their partners in crime, the police. A lawyer's propensity for doing evil is directly proportional to the opportunity afforded by their position. This characteristic is even more in evidence among politicians and also judges, all of whom were formerly attorneys. A lawyer is essentially a cop with a college degree. Oh my goodness. The legal criminal fraternity characteristically demonstrates no loyalty to anyone but their own criminal kind. They have no concern for the truth and justice that they pretend to champion, driven by an insatiable lust for power, money, and personal recognition. They do it strictly for the sake of a filthy lucre and the fringe benefits afforded by compromised public servants. Attorneys especially are notorious whores. Regardless of how well or poorly they perform, they still get paid. Win or lose their case, their client is forced to foot the bill. Oh yeah, I know. I paid $54,000 to get a divorce that should have taken 9 months. After 3.5 years, I still wasn't divorced yet by the same criminal law firm. I had to switch law firms, and then I finally got divorced in a couple of months. Yeah, criminals. They fornicate with the world to earn a living and care not whether the cause of their defense is righteous. They defend a pedo politician or a murderous cop. The only issue of concern to an attorney is how much he or she will get paid. A lawyer will betray anyone, anytime, any place, if there is sufficient cash to extort or abscond. Law, quote unquote, is one of the few professions where the service provider, the attorney, is paid even if no useful service is rendered. They can lose their client's case, sell out their client to the prosecutor, and still make a good living. Like his Masonic cousins, politicians and judges, attorneys are by no means lacking in ruthlessness and will not hesitate to betray others in order to enrich themselves. This is especially obvious whenever they can manipulate circumstances to appear righteous to the undiscerning eye of the controlled media and dumbed down public. All attorneys are temple prostitutes. They're wards of the state. The government owns them. They sold their soul to the beast. The LCF, which is the criminal fraternity, pride themselves on quote-unquote looking good, acting, dressing, and speaking with an outward show of eloquence and respectability. Yet inwardly they are hideous, predatory creatures, ravenous wolves who will devour all those that are not part of the Luciferian genealogy. This den of extortionists are housed in well-appointed offices and clothe themselves with expensive apparel. The men and women thinking themselves self-wise, dispensing advice and rendering service for a fee, have a great deal in common with the streetwalkers plying their trade. For example, the fact that a legal criminal always gets paid, even if they don't successfully perform the service which they were retained. So does a prostitute. Lawyers prefer to receive extorted funds from their desperate clients in advance. So does a prostitute. The prepayment is rendered with the assumption they will deliver the quote-unquote trick for which they're being compensated, for example, winning a court case. Often they received a hefty bonus merely for showing up. So does a prostitute. Like their equally unsavory street counterpart, legal criminals are carriers of deadly disease and illnesses which may be contracted by those having contact with them, that are curses to the body, mind, and soul, and bank account are the result of a subtle process of diffusion merely from being in proximity to them. Evil communications corrupt good manners. 1 Corinthians 15:33. Poverty, confusion of values, and disregard for the truth will be visited upon all those that serve their false god Lucifer. Curses will alight upon them who inquire of the wicked, trusting in corrupt men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Conversely, blessings are to those who trust in the perfect wisdom of God. The 1611 King James Bible of the Lord Jesus Christ, who alone is able to save those lost and hurting souls in need of salvation. Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departeth from the Lord. Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, and those hope the Lord is. Jeremiah 17:5-7. And just so you know, guys, I'm not a religious person. I'm merely reading the text in a book. So you don't have to argue with me, but you can certainly leave a question and comment down below about the book called The Criminal Fraternity Servants of the Lie. And we'll show you again who they are, just so you remember who they are. One of those guys. One of those. One of those. And one of those. Okay. Attorneys sought to be exalted when choosing a career in law, a profession where they can lord over others. Yet, they're often forced to associate with a less desirable strata of society, namely hardened criminals. Consequently, they come to resemble those upon whom they feed, the greedy liars, thieves, extortionists, rapists, murderers, and every other kind of perverse spirit. Ultimately, in their impoverished wisdom, attorneys must settle for a life of deceit and petty covetousness, preying upon the disadvantaged and poor, and associated with common criminals who are very much like themselves. Whoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. Matthew 23:12. The criminal fraternity has an affinity for, and is subversive to, their pimp, the beast government. As wards of the state, they desperately wish to be near it, feeling comfortable and at ease within its soulless institutions. The large, vacant, sterile buildings occupied with zombie-like automatons that Orwell described as having dust in the creases of their face. Behind every desk there lurks a rigid totalitarian employed in the official capacity of oppressor of the people. Underling clerks, duty officers, and a wide assortment of other legal simpletons are the criminal fraternity Marxist facilitators seething with a thinly veiled contempt for a public that provides them a paycheck derived from citizens' extorted tax dollars. Government institutions, legal and political, are Satan's kingdoms of this world. Matthew 4:8, Luke 4:5. In their totality, they represent a colossal spiritual whorehouse, employing virtuous men and women who assume it is their right and duty to punish all those that are not members of their criminal cults. I mean, this author, he's got away with words. Don't you agree? It was a stunning realization when this author came to the realization that all those stone-faced drones working within civil government are mentally ill. They're all mentally ill. In fact, most are so severely psychologically dysfunctional that the only gainful employment available to them is within the government institutions. Hence, they have been institutionalized into the beast system. They become like-minded with it and strive to serve it, not knowing whom it is they're truly serving, which is Lucifer. Attorneys do not practice law, quote unquote, for the purpose of defending the cause of justice or to help people. That is not their motivation, but only a superficial pretense. Apart from receiving a disproportionate lump sum of cash, they have no interest in righting wrongs for the sake of principle or to aid people that have been viciously exploited by a Masonic criminal enterprise. Oh, like I mentioned, like to the county lawyer here, Jackson County, Kentucky, when I went to his office, I thought he was like a nice guy at first, and then I was telling him about the Freemasons, and he looked at me, he's like, Freemasons? Like, duh, like, what are those? He turns to his secretary, do you know any Freemasons? She shakes her head, like, no, I don't know what she's talking about. He looks at me like, I don't know, duh, I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, there are 3 Freemason lodges right here. I mean, if he's a county lawyer, he's got to know about these guys, right? They're all part of the criminal fraternity. They're all part of the criminals that are destroying my property. Of course he knows who they are. Let's not gaslight me. Come on. I guess you just thought that I was just another one of those dumb neighbors that you work with on a regular basis. Sorry, I'm not. Lawyers have only one raison d'etre, and that is to make as much money as possible while functioning as quote-unquote middlemen. And then one of my subscribers said, don't get mad at him, like he's just the middleman. There's somebody giving him orders. The fact that he's a middleman, the fact that he's in the middle of all of this tells you that he's an active participant. Is a scheme of legalized racketeering. Like all true criminals, attorneys enrich themselves at the expense of the misery of others. Their entrapped clients are not only duped out of their hard-earned savings, but will receive in return only as much justice as they can afford to buy. Legal prostitutes make most of their money when, quote-unquote, negotiating from behind bars, cutting a sweet deal for themselves when extorting funds from their needy prospective clients who are imprisoned. It is while their powerless prospects in jail prison inmates are pleading for their very lives that these ignoble freedom brokers do their best work. This author was told by prison inmates how they paid $40,000, $60,000, $300,000 to a blood-sucking leech attorney to take their case. Then, once the attorney had procured the funds and deposited them in his personal bank account, he or she did essentially nothing to help their case, and in some instances hindered and did it considerate damage. I can attest to that fact. When I lived at 52 Sutton Drive in Alpin, New Jersey, and I would try to get a divorce, that I spent more than $54,000 to one law firm that never got me a divorce. The final proof of this is seen by the fact that these prisoners were still in prison, locked up in razor wire slave labor camp. Attorneys are not humanitarians. Police realize this. They actually laugh when this author told them that he would get an attorney to bring charges against him for violations of his civil and constitutional rights. Attorneys, aided and abetted by the police, judges, and the media, sometimes perpetrate gross injustices against the individuals they legally represent. Typically, their victims are poor, uneducated, uninformed, or those too intimidated to fight back against a system that can hammer them down should they righteously protest. They are shameless horrors. Lawyers boldly stand in the face of the falsely accused when reenacting a perverse mockery of justice, rising to the occasion to take the case only if the price is right. Whenever going up against the beast system of tyranny, the plaintiff or defendant citizen is confronted with virtually insurmountable barriers, not the least of which is all that other parties involved in the litigation have a vested interest in the non-Masonic losing the case. The conspirators include the judge, the prosecutor, and yes, even the accused owns defense lawyer. The criminal fraternity plots and schemes behind closed doors to decide the outcome of a particular case before it has even commenced. Like the mock two-party political system in America, justice in a courtroom is a staged theatrical performance. The criminal fraternity is part of the same conspiratorial collusion. Indwelled by demonic spirits, they have all sworn their allegiance to their god, Lucifer, the god who rules over all the kingdoms of the world. Luke 4:5-6, Daniel 4:17. In league with the devil, through his beastly civil government, they are psychopaths, officers of the court, wards of the state, bond slaves to their unearthly master. They have no obligation to anyone but themselves. Only their duty is to protect and defend each other. While dispensing platitudes, fraternal legal criminals demonstrate no loyalty toward anyone foreign to the like-minded spirit of their criminal brotherhood. As a case in point, when the author was kidnapped and taken captive by agents of the New World Order, they contrived to prevent him from having access to his own legal counsel when stating, while he was in handcuffs, "Your attorney is no longer practicing law out of this office, and no one knows where he can be located," quote unquote. They lied, of course. Their criminal action was in violation of federal law that requires the police to notify the attorney of an incarcerated person before that person can be questioned. Hours later, when led into a stone-faced, nearly vacant courtroom, the author's new quote-unquote attorney, a court-appointed public defender, which is public pretender, with erupted herpes sores all around his mouth, was ready to assist his boss, the prosecutor, in a prison sting operation. The author had no personal lawyer, no witnesses, no trial, no right to habeas corpus or present evidence, and later discovered that his original attorney had cooperated with the criminal conspiracy to entrap him. In addition to the courtroom conspiracy described above, yet another major hurdle, which the poor and innocent must overcome, is money. The traitorous, mammon-lusting lawyer knows that his or her client has a limited supply of cash savings to contribute towards his bountiful larceny. Although most defense lawyers realize their client has been grossly victimized by a system of injustice, their concern is not to defend citizens' rights, but rather to extort the maximum fee possible and appear righteous while doing so. 98% of all federal cases are decided in favor of the government. Only 2% are adjudicated in favor of the defendant. This statistic reflects the supreme power of the beast and the ineffectual role played by one of its members of the criminal fraternity team, who presumes to represent his client, but in truth is playing both sides of the conflict. Regardless of any pretense of sincerity toward the citizenry, The criminal fraternity's allegiance is first and foremost to the beast government. Even so-called civil rights lawyers are in bed with the corrupt courts. All attorneys are sworn officers of the court. Conflict of interest? Absolutely. Most civil liberties citizen advocate lawyers are too cowardly, too inept to confront the beast that feeds them, preferring instead to render to their powerless clients merely the illusion of justice, while covertly cooperating with the Masonic ruled court. Because they realize it's too formidable for them to prevail against, they're able to maintain good standing within the Luciferian Brotherhood, and all the while terrified by the unlimited power of the beast they serve. Although an attorney may put on a show of bravado when alone with his client behind closed doors discussing a case, acting in control and in command of the situation, as if having power to influence their courtroom beastmaster, in reality, they are able to do very little, if anything, to challenge an opponent that can crush them anytime it wishes. In the real world, there's no such thing as a quote-unquote civil rights lawyer. There are only civil rights liars. Pay the usual extortion fee of somewhere between $10,000 and $100,000 or more, and he or she will provide you with a momentary illusion that you're going to war against the bad guys. But what your paid streetwalker neglected to tell you is that he or she only does it for money and couldn't care less about your plight. When the noble attorney leaves the conference office or prison cell using funds which you provided him, he will dine sumptuously at a gourmet restaurant with an attractive companion. But you will return to a cold, dark, uncertain future when you will remain in captivity, fed jailhouse fare alone, and not a friend in the world. Then you'll hate yourself in the morning, when awakening to the realization that your citizen advocate lawyer was also one of the bad guys. Likewise, the job of any court-appointed attorney is to destroy the client's case. This double-minded temple prostitute is statistically documented to lose more than 96% of all cases appointed to him or her by the Masonic court. Typically, the victims of court-appointed public pretenders are the poor and indigent, those lacking in the necessary key ingredients for playing in a rigged game, money. When ensnared by a mob of conspiratorial legal terrorists, hapless victims often realize too late that truth and their innocence are not an issue for determining the outcome of their case. In the brutal world of the criminal fraternity, it's always about money, power, and control. Victims of the LCF social disease typically end up re-victimized when further seeking a legal advocate to take up their righteous cause after their court-appointed pretend attorney has sold them out. To the victim's horrified dismay, he will invariably realize that the well-dressed, nicely groomed young man or woman sitting across from him behind a large desk in a swank office complex is neither a friend nor an advocate, but it's just one more money parasite with the compassion of a bloodthirsty weasel. It should therefore come as no surprise that jails and prisons are full of indigent poor whose only real crime was that they could not afford an attorney. Lawyers are merely educated prostitutes. Like the exceptional righteous police officer, an occasional rare exception among attorneys is noteworthy. And even then, a leopard cannot change its spots. Jeremiah 13:23. There is no attorney anywhere who will betray his or her oath of allegiance to Lucifer, the beast government, their lord and master. The term Christian attorney is an oxymoron, since no such individual exists. Matthew 6:24. No man can serve two masters, yea, cannot serve God and the mammon. Like the world's oldest profession, legal criminals have been plying their trade for thousands of years. Wherever they're mentioned in scriptures, it's always in the context of God's righteous scorn. Luke 7:30, 10:25:29, 11:45 to 54, and 14:3. Legal prostitutes were not called attorneys in the Bible. They were called lawyers. Could it be that, in order to divest themselves of their deserved scriptural stigma, these legal fornicating harlots changed their job title? Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm just gonna have to repeat that sentence again. Legal prostitutes were not called attorneys in the Bible, but rather lawyers, quote unquote. Could it be that, in order to divest themselves of their deserved scriptural stigma, these legal fornicating harlots changed their job title? Just as street I'm sorry, I can't help it. Just as streetwalkers are a private commercial entrepreneurs, the injustice system is a private commercial enterprise. In both cases, nowhere does love and compassion enter into the equation. Members of the legal criminal fraternity have rejected the only truth there is, Jesus Christ. Do not concern themselves with arbitrating issues of truth and justice, as they would like you to believe, but rather they function only to make a profit from the peaceful sheep found grazing on the beast's territorial, quote-unquote, jurisdiction. Pay the courthouse beast enough money and it will leave you alone, at least for a while. Most jails, in order to maintain their level of state funding, for example, produce a profit for their shareholders and stay in business to provide jobs for members of the criminal fraternity. They must maintain a certain occupancy rate, a quota of prisoners. That is a fact. That is a 10,000% fact. Consequently, whenever property of state a wrong citizen, is arrested and incarcerated, the attorneys, police, jailers, correction officers, judges, and other associated societal parasites are very happy to put yet another dangerous, quote-unquote, dangerous criminal behind bars, for, in doing so, they're ensuring their own job security. Incidentally, the principal investors who buy majority stocks in jails and prisons are the upper-level members of the legal criminal fraternity. Judges and wealthy attorneys are typical shareholders. The Bush crime family is heavily invested in federal prisons, BOP. And I don't know if I could say this. I'll show you. Okay, so this is for educational purposes only. I'm reading a book. I'm reading some of the book. I'm not reading all of this chapter. I'm now on page 131. I've got one paragraph left about the criminal lawyers, the prostitutes, the legal system. The legal criminal fraternity, they're all in it together. Like their father Satan, they trade in their souls of men. The injustice system is socially accepted fraudulent institution, a self-perpetuating corporate enterprise made possible by the cooperative efforts of gun-carrying enforcers, legal prostitutes, judicial pimps, and political pirates. Well, he has got colorful language, doesn't he? He's got very colorful language. So anyway, we're ending on page 132 here, and this is the book. And let me turn over the back so you can see it. Who are the real criminals? Them, 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 and them. And this is the book. Okay, I look forward to your questions and comments down below. Tell me, what are your thoughts on the legal profession? Inquiring minds like to know. I've already told you all about mine. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good day, and I will talk to you later.